Oh, I don't even know how to make an admin. That's ridiculous. I don't even know what to do first. Let me put that away. Hey, party people. See if this works any well. I don't know. Ugh. Shit, fuck me. I don't know what I'm doing, but it's okay. We're figuring this out as I go along. So I guess let's check what's going on in the world of shit. I have no idea what I'm doing, obviously. Oh my god. No one else is here. Yeah, well, that is very true. Oh, let's see how to figure all this shit out. Let's just turn off these monitors real quickly while I figure life out. Alright, that didn't really fuck up too much. That's cool. That is neat. Oh, my eyeballs. Okay, let's figure out how fucking well this is. Let's see what shit show this is this time. No, alt. Fuck. Figuring this out as I go along. So much fun, isn't it? Fuck people, fuck me. I don't know what I'm doing with my life. Dope. Ah, my eyeballs hurt. I feel like I should drop that shot. It's really awkward. Maybe that'd be better. I don't know. I don't know what the fuck I'm doing with my life. I don't know. Ugh. So let's see what's going on with the world GME last week. Let's see how the dividend potentially happened to affect anything. Shall we? All right. Oh, I'll probably look at that too. I want to look at the raw data. Okay, I see you. Oh my God. Yeah, I guess I was always interested with data analysis. I know I just more so like, I just really like patterns, and I have this weird knack of just not only identifying them, but also being able to model them as well. So it's more so it's like not only is a fascination with data analysis, because that stems from actually identifying just numerical behaviors, but also it's I just have a general fascination with not only observing behaviors, analyze or finding out the general patterns and such like that, figuring out basically what makes anything unique, and then being able to, I guess, model it or characterize it. Anyways, I'm working on my public speaking. So I mean, like the first time I did this streaming, it was kind of a shit show, because like, yeah, the first time I did it, it was really fucking awful, but you know, whatever. This is me practicing the shit. And so yeah, I took a lot of various people's advice, and hopefully I'll be able to remember to apply them constantly, which we shall see. What else is going on in the world? Okay, that's the last dividend. Hey Luca. Hi, princess. What are you doing? Hi, princess. So interesting. Okay, cool. Let's make those values even easier to understand. So for others that may not be familiar with like just analyzing raw data or the specific program, especially this program I use is called JMP or JUMP. It is a program that I use like entirely in industry. So this is like my go-to. Luca, sorry, my dog's right here. So this is the statistical and like analysis program. Say hi. This is the statistical analysis program that a lot of engineering companies like to use, not only for various different kind of like system modeling, but also for just process characterization, also just various different type of weird predictive like analysis or stuff like that. So so if anyone isn't familiar with this program, that program, I guess. Yeah, it's JMP, and so I use, whenever I do my analysis, I use it, basically I use Excel and I use JMP. Excel is really good for, yeah, I love you too. Excel is really good for formatting data, as well as basically making a presentation and such like that. So I mean, like a lot of the various different kinds of, like within my DD, there are a lot of various different tables that I make that are from Excel graphs. So I use them from Excel because it's very easy to like make them all pretty and stuff. However, this program that I'm using right now, JMP, is really hardcore, just engineering, and so it just like only gives you a data table, and it doesn't like allow you to format it very easily. And so that's why I've been, yeah. So that's just to like give a quick introduction to that program, I guess. So yeah, so what I just did is pull the raw data from GameStop. As I frequently discuss, is that I only analyze raw data, specifically specializing within just the open, high, low, close. And what I've been doing for quite some time period is reverse engineering the behavior itself, which is very plausible, something I actually do a lot in my profession, because essentially we have two So we have like a continuous independent and a continuous dependent variable, and so just given those two, like given those two variables, you can basically figure out everything else in between. It might take a little bit of time period. Does Burma even have Bernese mountains? No. So Burma, actually, Bernese mountains come from the, it's a Swiss mountain, actually. And so it's not really Burma. She's a Swiss mountain dog from the Bernese Mountain Alps. And that is numeric, continuous, that is per concert, yeah. Currency. So I guess, like, just to make it easier for other people to kind of understand where all I'm going with all this crap, let me just kind of like format all this crap so that, because I mean, this is, I'll comment there, well, a lot of what I do. I don't know, it is a thing, but, so let's see if there's been any difference. Hold on, actually. No, that's not the one. The other one is like, that's an Australian Shepherd that did it. Luca's pretty chill. She doesn't really eat anything, except for she's kind of on a diet. So a little bit. That makes sense. All right. I'll have to do more analysis. Hi, phone with hello, Dennis Moscow. Hello. So we probably get the high as well. See if any of this stuff. Ooh, we're in a good zone right here. We're so right recent. I guess I should probably add better axis settings to that. I guess, I don't know, 2 months? 2 months is a good number. And why not add some grid lines? All right. So these scatter plots right now, I'm looking at just a matter of, so the bottom one is date in comparison to closing values of a GameStop. And so right now I'm just looking at the close and the adjusted close because they're given how recently the dividend came out, there might be a difference between the close and adjusted close. So the close and adjusted close are like they're the same, but they're not. So essentially what happened is that adjusted close a lot of the times will be what the value was, incorporating a dividend or not. And so they're the same but different depending on what you're trying to, like, I'm trying to figure out like how to explain this because I haven't looked at, like, focused on this for a little bit of time period. I've been working on stuff like with the BCG or the various different types of tweets right now, and so I've been trying to get rid of that stuff, all the social type of analysis, or just basically going do the deep diving into through that shit. And so yeah, anyway, so like I haven't been back. So the one thing that's really cool, oh my god, this is gonna be great. It's hitting, oh man, okay. We're hitting, that's interesting. What value is this? 37, 40. This should be about the same. It's like, that's, No, I'll just leave it unclosed then. Makes it easier. Probably maybe like add the colorings. And so, I mean, while I've been working on the various different deep diving into like the social aspect and trying to like figure out all the business crap that's been going on, I think that probably a lot of people doing the math shit might like interest people more. And so, that's just like my 2 cents. I don't know if that's might be true for everyone. Yeah, that's okay. I asked my magic 8-ball. I picked up a tree from DFB, and so like I asked like what I should do. But that's the reason actually I YOLO'd everything into GameStop, because I was like, should I YOLO? And I said yes. So a lot of my initial trades were just like, oh, should I do this? And they're like, yes. It was stem from that. That's right. There's a value right there. It's about 37.38. No, that's not what I needed. I'm gonna add some axes. I need a leg. Yeah, that's good. Look at that, beautiful. Then we have this thing right here, 29, $9 difference. Spoof. All right, so 20, 29, 28, $10 difference. Why not? Actually, we'll use this value right here. What are you? You're 30. See how that goes. Awesome. That might be actually dumped down. Really want to bring that to 37. There we go, that looks great. So like right now, so one thing is that I've been noticing with a lot of this data is that it's a piecewise function, and for those who aren't familiar with the piecewise function, essentially how these piecewise function is that within a certain, like basically within a certain domain or within a certain range, where like the behavior of the data is set. And so so for example, like this one thing what I'm doing right here, it's like isolating this section right here, mainly because just how this, I've been working backwards, figuring out basically why the values are the values that they are. And one thing I've noticed within that is that they operate with like the behavior themselves are very specific and to like certain, I guess we could say like share price and such like that. So for example, between this like 30 to 38 range, typically what would happen is that it's a jumping area. So for like this March time period, as soon as I hit around this here, it jumped right up. And then for example, around like January of this year, as soon as it actually crossed this barrier right here, it jumped down. And so, I mean, it's almost acting like a basic, yeah, the movement is a jumper or whatever you want to call it. And so I've been trying to figure out like why they are set. Like for example, right now, I mean, it's 30 and 37. There's no, I mean, I have to redo a lot of my analysis, which sucks balls, because it's with the updated dividend that is like really fucked up everything up. And so I'm just like, oh shit, I just wrote like 50 pages worth of shit, and now I have to like go back and rewrite everything because it's all different values now. Anyways, and then you're in the lunar cycle. I don't know what the fucking lunar cycle is, bruh. And so yeah, we have that, and then also there's so yeah, I've been trying to figure out like, so if I were to like figure, actually, so the general, I guess the theory, like, or the analysis that's continuing on is that it's also not only is an incorporation of these jumping type segments, but also there is also like there are oscillations going on. And so one thing we very commonly see is these type of bulls, like here. See, like we see these for example. And I mean, we can even place a critical line on that, which would define or help to define what is the min and max. And so one way to do that is using an outlier, because outliers are outliers for a specific reason. So within a population of data, basically you can figure out like what is expected and what is like normal, I guess, or like expected or normal are pretty much the same thing. So therefore, when you have something that deviates greatly from the expected or normal value, then that means something's fucky with it. And so since there are a lot of like data points here that are really fucky, but however, not only is there multiple different ones, so therefore it would kind of suggest like it's not just a single glitch, you know, because like probability, you know, every now and then like, oh yeah, well it's 99% is going to do this, so it's like, oh, that one last 1% you keep doing that. But because there are so many like unique ones that go up right like up there, it would kind of suggest that a new variable was introduced that became that was overpowering all the other bullshit. And so these values are the, I guess those, let me like change a different color too, and size, marker size, Excel, and then recolor. What's a good color? Go blue. Yeah, I'll make that a little bigger. Okay, that's pretty good. And so basically, so what happens with an outliers are like, I personally love outliers, not only because of, I mean, one, because they're improbable, and I have such a like weird fascination with improbabilities, but also it helps identify that it's called what's it called? Like a confounding variable. So what a confounding variable basically means is that it's like a hidden variable that is like it exists and you don't know how it kind of does it, more or less, but exists. And so there's a confounding variable that exists, and so just like looking at these outliers and then adding basically a limit, like a axis to that, which like represents where that value is. For example, we'll just do the 56 here. No, there we go, 56. Add noise. And so we can see how this, oh, what the fuck, that was 56. What the fuck? That's not right. Is it because, hold on. Oh, there we go, probably two. Let's add that. So what are 56.25? So let's update that, because that's more accurate, and I'm all about accuracy. So we can update that. Skadoosh. And so then let's do, like, we'll just add that one right too, so because I might like help it out. 48.4. God, well, this shit's gonna like make me have to like change all my shit. Fuck me. Anyways, whatever. And so basically to correlate, like just another way to emphasize this piecewise function that we're observing right now is by, very similarly, so we have these this is the upper limit here, and we have a lower limit here, and that's, our limits are defined by, or our boundaries are defined by these outliers that existed there. And so, I mean, as to kind of reiterate what makes them so like obviously important is that the fact that there are multiple different ones within a group. They are within when you place an axis line, there like a lot of other data points like hit it and such like that. So I mean, that would kind of suggest that it has this unique value. And then also on top of it is just like the values that they actually are. And so I mean so this one right here, 56.25, and like that's extremely there's like to end in like a value between 0 and 99, there's 100 different like ways to, like, there's one out of 100 probability of getting a dollar ending in 25. And so let's check out these other ones real quickly. 36.99, close enough, whatever. 37, I don't fucking care. This is 30.08. No one's interested right here. That's gonna be right there. Yep. Of course. That's 19.2. What is that? 19.25? Because it is like, but it's going to be another one. 19.5, 19.5, 5. See, like, so like right here is another, I guess I've been referring to these things as a critical value or criticals. Because I call them critical values, not only because that is an orthodox terminology within mathematics, because it's critical values within a graph are typically something like the max, the min, so like an inflection point, and limits. And so basically various different type of numbers that are unique to the data set itself, which overly just it describes the data sets that you're seeing. So critical values are just common nomenclature. And so let's do this one right here. Why not? 22.93, 23, 22.5. I'll do 22.5. That's a good number. Why not? Or 22.4 maybe, because that one's, I'll do 22.4, so here I go. Because it would suggest, yeah, so I mean, there's here, but hard to see the chart on mobiles. Well, that's not my fucking problem. Lithium 98 seems like a personal problem. $27.4. Yeah, told you that again. So I mean, like, one thing is, like, I've been doing all this analysis using the previous data or the share price prior to the dividend split. So I've been more familiar with that data set. So I'm having to teach myself or familiarize myself with like the post-dividend values. And so it's kind of like frustrating because I had a bunch of data that was specific to that, so now I have to go back and change everything and basically verify it's the same idea or something changed. So that's cool. So, you know, whatever, you know, that's fine. All right. I like the 35.25. Outlier 34.25. Yeah. That's close enough. I don't give a fuck. What's at 35.25? I'll let it slide. I mean, yeah, I have a dog and a cat. Luca helps me out with, I like to make fun of TA because I think it's garbage. Mainly because, like, they use the incorrect calculations and equations in order to, they use the incorrect equations to calculate their indicators. And so I really fucking hate TA. Not only because it's incorrect math by definition, but also because well, there's lots of reasons. Trying to figure out if it's hard to see on mobile, it's probably just as hard to see on anything else. I don't know, man. Oh, it's like, so my life is so difficult. Where was I? Oh yeah, so making fun of TA. There's multiple. I hate TA so fucking much, and a lot of people don't know the difference between TA versus regular data analysis. The key ones being is that data analysis actually uses the correct equations that are specific to the distribution of the data that you're analyzing. And so therefore, like, a lot of indicators that are used in stocks, uses the wrong equations by definition, because it's just the wrong math for what is being seen. You just want to fucking, oh my god. And then on top of it, like, there is also within the stock, or like within natural normal TA, they try to attempt something that is fucking stupid, which is essentially incorporate something that is like, it can't be measured, which is the human motions. And human motion is lacks the either the proper metrology or yeah, it's basically it lacks the it's an unquantifiable variable. There is no currently known to man anything that can discreetly like measure human emotions, no matter how many dumb fucks try to argue me with that because they're just trying to be contrite. But, and so like with a lot of stocks TA, they try to use essentially they're using the wrong math to like speculate what's going to happen later, given like not only by the wrong math, but also it's like just how people, like the emotions part of it as well. And so that's fucking stupid, because if it's like, if you like are basing a lot of your analysis not only by shitty math, but also by like also just like trying to like estimate or trying to predict something that is unpredictable, which is like the human element. No one can fucking do that, and it's really fucking stupid when people try. So I like hate TA. And then on top of it is like why TA is so stupid is that, so a lot of the times we're like, oh hey, this is going to be like a resistance lines, or this is going to be a Wyckoff, or this is going to be like it's a bull flag or whatever have you. And so I mean, a lot of it TA, one thing you'll also hear is that they'll be like, oh, after the formation actually occurs, they're like, oh, of course this was this like formation, I totally knew, I guessed it, that it was going to be this formation. But it's like, it's a lot of it is hindsight, and so that's just really frustrating, because it's like, oh, okay, it's hindsight, like you're seeing how it like this and how you're creating confirmational bias because you're viewing the previous data, and then you're like doing like, oh, of course it is, and then you're just basically adding confirmational bias to that bullshit. And so like that's another fucking reason is that like so just like, so with a lot of different types of formations that occur, I like, hold on, like I'll pull something up. I like it to like, yeah, hopefully nothing bad. All right, cool. Let's think. So I can brag on about whatever. Technical analysis formation introduction to. All right, here we go. Yeah. All right. Fucking. Ugh. It's hot as fuck. So here's another thing. So where's a good example? Let me find a good example of what I'm trying to say. Maybe that. And so, okay, I mean, this, I guess there has to be a little bit of a like imagination when looking at this. And so looking at this chart right here, like what is the difference between this triple top and basically the ascending wedge? And so arguably the only difference between this one and this one is the overall angle. And so essentially the ascending wedge occurs at an angle while the triple top is planar. And so essentially like what angle does like the triple top become the ascending wedge and vice versa? And so that there's a lot of subjectivity in regards to determining what type of formation it is, because it's just like, they just create these random names for things that are like, oh, this is normal and this, but what, at what time, like there's no definitively defined like angle to differentiate between those two. And so as such, because there's no like difference, when people are supposed to be like, oh, we see this ascending wedge and we know it's like typically that's going to be an indicator of basically, oh, it's going to be bullish, okay? So, and because of that, people are going to like invest with that thought process because they're trained in that very orthodox method. But the thing is like, how, like, there's no difference between this and this. I mean, it could be like this, is like, if it's like this, is that, like, versus that. Like what angle overall of the overall data is going to be changing it into it. And so that's like that, this adds to the whole speculation type bullshit that's going on. Just like they can, because they're just shapes, and they're not necessarily, and they're not defined by any discrete value. So because they're just like shapes, I mean, they're like, it's so fucking stupid to just use that. So there's one rant. So we can continue on my other rant. Now I have all this bullshit pulled up. Let's see. So let's go to bar chart. I like this. So yeah, the only two websites I look at is bar chart and also Yahoo Finance, because everything else, that's the only thing I've ever used, in case anyone is interested in knowing that. Come on, okay. One second. Oh Jesus Christ, the mass Doritos. That's so fucking stupid. Like, holy fucking shit. Anyways, I could complain about so many fucking things about all these people. Like, so like, here's another thing. So, because the differences between this angle, like this is the triple top and this is like the wedge, what if they're like, okay, then well, what if I'm just going to create some magical formation that is like in between it? So it's like a mixture of both, and because it's because there's no defined, like, clear-cut definition of what is one and what is the other, you can make some random bullshit things like, oh yeah, this is my completely new like formation, and so like Jesus Christ. And so like these type of, like, using these type of formations is entirely speculative. And so, I mean, so we have all these, like, as I keep on going down this list of why TA is fucking bullshit. So that, I mean, that is just like another one. It's just like, oh, I mean, like, okay, well, like, anyways, and so I'm getting distracted. I was pulling this up. Here's another one of my like annoyances. And so let's make that bigger. Yeah, noise. And so here is like just regular GameStop. It is from bar chart. I only use bar chart and Yahoo Finance, and for two different reasons. But like, yeah, when I watch bar chart, like the bar chart, I only have like two different ones, because I like to watch the volume, mainly because it'll let me know whether or not something is natural, has an organic growth, or like something occurred, like some tomfuckery. So essentially it allows me to see basically where that particular, what is the driving force behind the open, high, low, close. Is it something organic, or is it something that has been programmed? And so that's why I like looking at volume. And so, for example, I mean, we can, like this right here, there's, given how the surrounding, so that is like volume to close, like 9, whatever. How come you don't like want to fucking do that for me? Whatever. And so the volume is like, yeah, about 19,445. Okay, whatever. And so, but the surrounding volume around it is like, oh, this one only has 554, that has 16. And so because that 19,554 occurred around basically a population, the surrounding population was extremely like small, so that would indicate that it's not natural growth. And so that's one reason as to why I watch volume, is for the natural growth. And so in regards to the MACD exponential, it applies to the MACD exponential. And so the MACD exponential is, MA stands for a moving average. And exponential, basically it places more strength to the closer, the most recent data points. And so I watch the MACD because, like, it kind of brings into the, it allows me, like, I don't like, oh, because it crosses T's, whatever. No, I look into specifically for, because it allows me to look at the moving average. And so why, like, the moving average to me is interesting, because it allows me to see how overall the, like the incorporation of volume itself again. And so volume, like, just this is another way to look at volume and see how it's been played out. And so comparing the bottom, which is just volume on the bottom, which is like, okay, at this one time point, we're just going to get, like, this is like 500. Next time point, this is 100, and like 100 volume. Next minute, like 200. Next minute, like that. And so within the bottom like chart on the bottom, well, bottom chart at the bottom, so the volume indicator at the bottom is being used for a discrete moment in time. So therefore I can like watch how the behavior of that one moment is looking. But then looking into and like the moving average though, it allows me to see how like if any particular moment, and how to see how basically if there's a trend developing, so or if it's dying off. And so it's not like the way I look at the MACD exponential and such like that is actually understanding what a moving average is, and like and basically what a weighted moving average is, because it's going to have the MACDs are like their weighted moving average. So like something with more volume is going to have a greater amount of power versus something with little volume. And so I don't look at like, so when people say, oh, the MACDs and such like that are crossing, oh, this means they're going to go up. Like, no, fuck you. No, it doesn't mean shit. Like, and you can basically, and like, so in regards to a lot of people that have a propensity to basically say, oh, look at this, like they're like, do you know what it means? I haven't seen these crossing since like March of 2021 or something dumb shit like that. And so like that is really fucking dumb, and not only because it means nothing, but also, I mean, like one thing that people have to be familiar is that these these values here can be redefined by having like you can make these like these lines right here, you can make them such that you can just be, oh yeah, instead of a 12, 26, 9, whatever, I'm going to like change the values up. And so you can you can use different input values or time periods for the moving average to force a confirmation bias, and then you can just like snip it and copy paste it to Superstock, and you make a gazillion, like a fucking gazillion like upvotes. So that's stupid as fuck. But TA doesn't mean anything. Yeah, no, TA is completely has been garbage for quite some time. And so I've been saying for a while is that even for over a year, I've been saying how, yeah, TA has been out the window. And so when I first started saying that is when basically people were so obsessed with like the dumbest fucking things. And I'm just like, oh yeah, guys, if TA actually fucking worked, then the majority of guys would have been right by now. Like we've been seeing the same people like, oh, this is a bull flag, and like, oh, do you guys know what this triangle means? And like people every single time there's been a cycle, like there's at least one fucking dumbass is like basically says, oh, we have the biggest triangle ever. It's okay, like yeah, you're like the 100th person to say the same fucking shit for like over a year and a half. Like shut the fuck up. Anyways. And so TA doesn't work. I mean, just TA doesn't work on any type of stock actually. And like, oh, as I just was over like just discussing, I mean, because TA is just wrong, incorrect math, and it just uses like it's like more tea leaves than anything else, and it just is a bastardization of like stats. And so yeah, TA fucking sucks balls. And so the only thing I actually benefited from, like, so I read a bunch of TA books, like a shit ton, because I didn't know anything about basically stocks and such like that for the longest time. I mean, now I feel a lot more confident, but it took a long ass time. But and so with the only thing positive I learned from TA books is basically I learned how other people think. And so therefore, like, oh, well, I know like if while reading this graph or such like that, I know that a lot of people are seeing this and they're using like this is this type of formation or whatever have you. And so I know that because they're all orthodox, like they're all trained like they're all like traditionally trained and such like that, they're all taught to do the same thing. And so basically it's like, oh yeah, you see this type of information, you're supposed to do this. And so that's like really like, so that's the only positive I know about it. And so because of that, like being able to understand like essentially what's being taught, and it's just like, oh, it's like kind of fucking stupid to me. Like, oh yeah, hey guys, you're gonna like see the same shit, and you guys are all gonna do the same thing. That's not gonna be fucking obvious to predict that you're gonna do the same thing because you guys are all taught the same fucking thing. But like because of like reading all the like TA books that teach you like, oh, you're supposed to do this when that happens, basically that's one way as I can tell as to how the like GameStop like the overall data or behavior itself has been written or made such that it uses so essentially like, yeah, they're like people's thinking or how the traditionally thought against them. I mean, that's why like these one argument could be like, oh, why these cycles happen in like 3 months ish, because people lose interest in about 3 months. Like, why is it that like, oh, it happened to be a bull, or like why these run out to occur at a certain time period? Because like, yeah, they've taken the typical amount of time that like people give like don't give a fuck, or like how to do that. Like, so it's just like, anyways. What like currently what can I ask your opinion on the recession we're currently in? I mean, I don't fucking like, everything is garbage. I mean, it has been garbage. I really don't think that 2008 ever ended, and that a lot of this like began in 2002. I wonder if I have. I wonder if like I should. Okay, and so like 2002. Actually, so like looking at the data itself, let me show you. Yeah. Well, like, let's have some fun. All right, let's look at my JMP. Is that a fucking, like, there's like a rock or something on my mouse? Well, and sour cream and mayo? Like, that's just white on white. All right, where's that? And so we can look at the previous data to show what I mean by that. All right, let's get rid of that. Let's get rid of my define axes. All right, and I got rid of the date because we had to like specialize those two. There we go. And let's get rid of the most that shit because it's going to make it like. There we go. Oh no. Yeah, that's a very nice one. So 2002, this was like, that's like, so GameStop first entered the market in like February of 2002. And so, let's pull up some of my, this is like one reason as to why I was like, oh yeah, well, you know, GameStop was really fucked over. Oh, you can see on my, like, the homepage, yes. No, I don't want that. That should be it. That should be part 1. Man, where are you? Cyclical history. Well, that's part 1, so it should be part 2, yeah, okay. So this is how I know that the data has been manipulated since 2002, and this isn't unique to just GameStop itself, but it's like seen across like a litany of other type of. No, it's not a Four Loko, it's a Monster. I don't drink. No Four Lokos. I only had that in like once in my life. No, but I don't drink anymore. Where's 2002? Monster. And so like, so what this like here is one of the, so I pulled up like my Ouroboros because I'm so dramatic, and so using like the Ouroboros because it's a good name in Greek. And so one thing is that so I use a lot of probability into identifying whether or not like a certain type of like data point, or like basically to figure out what is expected, and so therefore it's like not fucked with versus like what is fucked with. And so using probability is very helpful, and especially within such an emotional environment that is the stock market. And so basically you have the way that I've been viewing the data is that probability is lot of it is based on something that can be completely modeled. So it is like you have to know what the data looks like in order to able to model it or predict it or do anything of it. And so in comparison to like the stock market, which in theory should be entirely controlled by the emotional retailer in theory, but like because it is like controlled by the emotional retailer, quote unquote, therefore it should be like unpredictable. I mean, people in general are like they're unpredictable, and so we're not going to be able to know like, oh, if we have this one event, like how will most people respond? I mean, not only by saying how will most people respond, but also discussing the severity of how that response is. And so they're just like so many, like life is messy, and so to basically have anything that is highly ordered, that's in theory is supposed to be in an environment that is not highly ordered, is like super hella sus as fuck. And so so using that mentality, using that general thing, is like, okay, well, if you're looking at the data itself, what general trends have you seen? And one of them is like the frequency at which we have like the values ending in 00, 25, 50, and 75 and such like that. And so what this basically says is that, okay, well, yes, we can add some basically general people's propensity to want to end things in a quarter because that's easy value that can be, it's an easy multitude that people like to adhere to, and so it's understandable. It's like, why is a quarter? Because people understand it. And so like, oh, like there can be, like I'll give them that. And but that, like, so to combat that general idea, when it's like, oh, people have a propensity for just having like buying things that are in some sort of multitude of like a quarter. So to combat that specifically, we can analyze the data against itself. And so while it's very, I highly suggest not analyzing, just doing a one-to-one across a different stock, because there's a bunch of cross conspiracies and you would have to have a bunch of them in order to create actually a multivariate like analysis. But to have a very rustic, oh wow, that was like me, to have a very rustic like just idea. And so I mean, it's so while I look at such things as just open, high, lows, close on like a discrete value, however, I use a lot of other like variables like categorically and such. And so going back to like what I was saying, so so in regards to this, so it's basically, what is this tomfuckery? And so basically bringing back to, it's like, okay, well, a lot of people, oh, let me like actually explain this. So what is this fuckery? Hooray! And so actually, it is now the time to add a quantitative value. So let's go back to where it was. So I guess it might be, I'm trying to work on like being like, yeah, just working on being, I do this for working on my public speaking skills and presentation skills, because I know that's really bad. So I've been using this to actually be better at it, and so hopefully it's going along better. But so like I'll start with this one because it's easy understandable. And so like this is the closing price. Is it? Hold on. Is it open high? Open, high, low, close of values. Okay, so this graph right is, it's called a dot plot. And so what a dot plot is yeah, it just plots dots. And so basically, so each one of these dots represents basically, oh, on like some over date that's in the middle of 2005, 2006, it ended in 25. That is, and so like they're just dot plots, and so they're not it's more so like, oh, like it's a kind of like a not as put together histogram in a way, but and so yeah, this is all the combined open, high, low, close of all the values for GameStop from 2002 to like 2021 middle or such, like the end of it or such like that. And so one thing is very apparent, like right away we see like how in like the 2021 there's like a shit ton of like, oh my god, like there's so many like ones that end in like double zeros, there's a bunch of like 50, and there's like, oh, not too many right here. And so by using the idea of being able to like rustically like compare like data from one before to the previously, and so I wouldn't necessarily like advise that on, again, would not necessarily advise doing something like that on a very one-to-one scale, but just qualitatively. So I mean, like, oh yeah, is this it's more so, is this value over here a shit fuck ton, like bigger than this value over here? Yes, okay, let's use a shit fuck ton. So that's what I mean by that. And so so we can see like, oh, there's a shit fuck ton of double zeros in 2021. However, like, look at that. Like, what the fuck happened in 2004? Like, why was not a single one that happened in 2004? And like in 2004, there was not a single open, high, low, close that ended in 0.00. I mean, yeah, in the middle of it, but still enough. Like, what the fuck? And so just like, oh, okay, you know, like having nothing over here to like a shit ton over here would mean that something is fucky. Like both, like, so I mean, like we can get like a general idea of what the data is looking. I mean, right here, it's like with 0.75, it's like, okay, yeah, you know, it's overall pretty consistent. Like if you like on a qualitative scale, it's like, oh yeah, there's like this many here, like there's some, like they're pretty consistently like, oh, various like breakpoints in a way, like nothing, like they didn't end here, like overall there's not many that like go above like 4 or 5 dot plots and within that one time period. Like that's okay. It's like cool, that like we're going to use like 75 as basically it's like that this kind of suggests that 75 was not necessarily like people number that many people liked, but also we can kind of use that as a standard or a base. And so because the overall data right here, it is consistently like, yeah, overall it's about the same-ish, you know, like whatever, it's fucking like close enough, I don't even get like whatever. And so by using that as our base, we have a general idea of like what would like shit happen if it was not fucked with. Like this is like normal. It's like, okay, yeah, you know, give her plus, like, okay, fucking like whatever. And so we're able to use like in a very qualitative viewpoint. Again, it's like really qualitative, like it's not a discrete, like this is initially identifying. So I guess to like this, so this is, yeah, to emphasize like how it's all discrete. It's like this is initially just identifying or just trying to find any form of observation or any potential trends. So it's like, oh yeah, let's look at all, like let's look all the fucking data first, like on a macro type scale, and see if we see anything fucky. And if we potentially do, and then we'll continue down the line and use math and either to prove or disprove if that confirmational bias actually existed. So we can cross compare, like so yeah, we have our 75 and do like, oh, you know, like whatever. And so we can see how like I hope like the one's not like fucking with things, but like for example, like with the 50s, like, oh yeah, not much is going here, but like right here we have a large grouping of values that ended in 50 within after 2021. It's like we don't really see that shit pretty much anywhere else, maybe back in like 2004-ish. But then, I mean, so that was kind of like, okay, you know, if we're using this as our like overall our like to help identify what is and what is not fucked with, that would kind of like, oh, this is fucked here, that's fucked here, that's fucked here, this is fucked over here too. And so we can like, and then we continue into the 0.25. And it's like, oh, well, you know, shit was like pretty, this like these values right here, they look over when like overlaid with the 75. It's like, oh yeah, you know, shit is fine. So for like right here is fucked and like right over here is fucked. And so that is like, okay, now we have been able to identify essentially that there's potential fuckery occurring in those time zones or the time durations. Then we're allowed to like continue on and see if there's any unique or specific type of thing that actually give strength that argument essentially to figure out if shit actually did happen. So yeah, so first one is observation of anything's fucking weird. So yeah, that was cool. And then, so that since that graph itself is a macro look of all the open, high, low, close, which essentially was basically looking at like all the data once and stuff like that. It's like, okay, it's like, does the open, high, low, close look fucky? And it's like, so yeah, so we basically said, oh yeah, that totally looks fucky. So like time for basically the observation, trying to figure it, to dig down into, to figure out if there is anything that is occurring, what the fuck is going on. So and so like so this basically is the same graph that was presented previously, but the difference is that this one has been separated into quadrants that are specific and unique to the open, high, low, close values. So the previous one had all of them squished together, but this one has the open, high, low, close separated. And so from here we can like do even further extrapolations to figure out not only if there's tomfuckery that occurred, but also if it's basically, is it within the, like, which one is it within just solely the open, high, low, close, whatever it is, or is it like that's one. And also it also allows us to be more confident within any behavioral changes as time continues on. And so so yeah, it's just another, it's essentially just another way to filter, like to get more specific. So we're like kind of like cutting down all the bullshit to figure out like what the fuck is really going on. And so now that basically we have all this going on right here, and so we can see that with the close values, I mean, what's a good one to look on? So yeah, we'll just start with the close. Like it's overall, there's a lot of the close values initially didn't like ended in a quarter at the very beginning. It's right here, but as time continued on, it's just like there were not many like close values that ended in any multitude of 25 until like right or like here. But overall, just like there's a lot of empty areas. So with the high value though, so because the amount of values that are like within, so this is like the high values relative to date, and if they're multitudes of whatever over here. And so this over here would kind of like, oh, well, there's a high precedence of like high values that are ending in one of these multiples. And so the biggest one is like ending in very similar to the first macro graph, is that it had a lot of, seemed like it had a lot of importance placed around the double zeros and the 50. And so, I mean, like with the low values, I mean, it's like, oh, they didn't, if we compare the low values to the closed values, there's not much like difference that's going on except for what's happening in like after 2021, where like the low value got like really fucking loved those double zeros. And so, but moving on to the open value, then you can see that how there's a lot of like inconsistent, like the overall behavior is extremely inconsistent, and it's not like, oh, like, I mean, we have some big here, we have some big here, we have some like groups of here, then we have nothing, and then we have, so it's more so because there are inflections or variations within the behavior itself, that would mean that some sort of fucking shit is going on that is causing to manipulate or influence the values that we're seeing. And so basically, so to me that would indicate like something fucky is going on. And so hold on, man, it's like, oh man, if anyone like wants to like say anything, but whatever. And so by using basically using a standard of the like open, high, low, close, we can therefore figure out essentially which variable or which value of the open, high, low, close has the greatest amount of importance. What I mean by that is like we can see how the high, because not only does it have like the most like data points that are occurring with it, what is the benefit of like, oh, like hold on, like what is the benefit of changing from 0 to 50s? Like I wouldn't see necessarily the benefits of changing from 0 to 50s. I would more so see like, it's, to me, it's noticing that there has been some sort of behavioral shift. And so essentially it's like, okay, well, originally the data was behaving in this particular manner, but then later it transitioned to this. And so like, while for me, it's not necessarily having one, is like the benefits having one value over the next one. It's more so that there has been a change which caused the shift to occur. And so that's the thing that I'm interested in looking at. It's like, okay, like what, like it's that, I mean, that's what's interesting to me, because I'm trying to essentially characterize all of this, and knowing when like basically a systemic change occurred is very important to me, so then I can figure out like why the fuck did it occur. Because yeah, yep. And so like right here, like, so kind of going back to, is like, oh, because we can basically figure out like what values of open, high, low, close have the greatest amount of importance, and to like basically to figure out which values have the greatest amount of importance, you can see basically which one has the most dots. And within the dots, you can see, oh, the open value has a fuck ton of dots, the high values have a fuck ton of dots, then low, and then close. Like, so it kind of would see that the open value has the most like fuckery going on, and then the high and such like that. And so, but we can also, like, that is more so just looking at the end here. But my point is that just this is another way of like identifying something, trying to be specific so you can like chop it down to figure out what the fuck's going on. And so continuing from that idea, it's like, okay, well now we did a visual inspection of the macro data, then we did a visual inspection of basically separating into quadrants. And so now it's like, okay, that has basically proven to me that something something is fucking going on. And so that it gives me like, okay, now I guess I'm just throw real data numbers into it because I know that it's worth my time to actually investigate on a more thorough level. And so that's why, like right here, so essentially this is a frequency table of the occurrences of this, like the multitudes of 25 that have occurred across all the years. And so like for 2002, like the open high, like the open occurred, like open had only occurred 4 times. Like it had a 0.00 in 2002. And then like 776, and so yeah, so it's a frequency table. And so by using the frequency table, it is going back to how it's like it allows for like not only for the identification of some sort of behavioral shift, but also allows for being able to figure out like when like a shift occurred and how fucking badly it is. And so with 2002, so in 2002, it's like it's a little bit of a misnomer, or it's kind of like it's like so for this particular like example, it should be noted that 2002 is when like GameStop first entered to the market, and so therefore it's going to have fewer data points because it does not start like January 1st to like December, and so it's naturally going to have fewer like basically values within this frequency table. So that should be something to take into consideration. And then the other part is to take into like, so that's one part. And so so anyways, that's something that should be taken into consideration when like cross comparing like the years against one another. The main one being, yeah, the 2002 doesn't have like as many values because it started later in the year. But this is important because like we can cross compare like 2003, however, and 2004 had the like trading days occurred the entire time. That was like from January to the end of December. But however, like, and we see the values of like 2003 had 102 like values that had a multitude of 25, as well as within their open high low close 102. And so that seems like that is the highest, well, minus 2021. So 102 is like pretty fucking high. That's almost basically your max in a way. So we know that like 102 is a fuck ton, like the fucking high number. And so using that, like comparing that on a just like overall a qualitative basis, we can see like, oh yeah, despite how 2002 opened the market later, it still, however, exhibited like a fucking shit ton of values that occurred like the same, like within the same like specific like characteristics that we're trying to identify. And so the same thing with 2004. So one thing is that, oh yeah, well, you know, in 2005 though, it's like, oh, we see a random dip. It's like, okay, you know, like 88 and 80, like 97 is like, maybe not. So like that would kind of be like something happened, but like not really, but something did, because like, it's like, okay, I mean, like same thing with 2003. It's like there's a little bit of a jump, but like not really. So like maybe, but then so like there's like within the 2004, 2006 time frame, like something happened, but kind of not, but kind of yes. There's like something small happened, but this is really more apparent. It's like, okay, then what the fuck happened in 2009? Because like we were up in the high 80s, like 90s, and then all of a sudden like 2009 happened, and fucking we dropped down to 60, and then 2011 happened, and we dropped down to 40. So that would mean like a lot of like something fucking happened, because if we're using previous data to be like, okay, this is what the normal trend is, and so because all these values for like a series of, oh, someone messaged me. So let's see who has entered my. Let's see what happened. Ugh. My mom messaged me. So I mean, like, because it's like, okay, what the fuck happened? Because there's like, it was like twice that almost, like just a few years ago. And so like, what the fuck? And so so using a frequency table is really helpful for just like this, because like yeah, you basically figure out like what, like it's another way to analyze trends. and like figure out what the fuck's going on. I mean, like for example, I mean, like we can one of the hold on, what's a good one to look at? So well, I don't know, but so there's that. I forgot what I was like going into. Oh yeah, the prologist for this. Like yeah, my mom says like she sent me like yeah. She's anyways. Like I'm surprised it's like 10 o'clock, mom. You should be asleep. Like since so basically so essentially using that is able to identify basically okay these values are unique and when actually they like when like something fucky happened. But to add even more like sketchiness is that one thing I did is like okay it's like the improbability of something like just incorporation of improbability. I mean this is right here it's just like oh well so like in 2004 like fucking like not much really happened in 2004 and then 2005 like there was a small dip and such like that. It's like kind of talking previously. And so one thing when I was looking into it is just like one thing that really weirded me out is that the improbabilities of having these same numbers being repeated. And so what I mean, like for example, what I mean by that is like okay, from November 9th, 2004, that had the overall the same values repeated on November 17th. And so like it is like yeah, 1143, 1142, 1111, 1111. And so one person I have to consider is like from like 0 to 99 cents. There's a 1 out of 100 probability of getting like whatever between that cents. But as we increase to like $1 to like $2 and $3 and such like that, so it's going to be multiplied by one other. So instead of like having 0 to 1 for $1, 10x it for like 10. So it's just like it's like 1 out anyways. So it's like extremely improbable that if you have like yeah if you go from 0 cents to like I don't know 12 and you have these values ending in the same because yeah there's 0 and there's like 1 cent 2 cent 3 cent up to like yeah your $1.98 not $1.99 and such like that. Oh. Oh man, ugh, webcam's going off, but maybe turn it off back and turn it on and off again. Oh, whatever, doesn't work. And so like so that's just wouldn't happen. And because like not only is these two values like being repeated, like the high right here is being repeated, and but then it's also like including the low and the close, and so it's multiplied with one another. So I mean like that's 1 out of gazillion times. So like 1 out of like I don't even want to do math right now. Like a lot. So it multiplied by the probability of like those two high values being the same times the probability of those two low values being the same times the probability of those closed values are the same. So it's extremely low. It's like an extremely astronomically low value that actually or probability that would like where that would occur. And so it's even more fucky is that like we like if you continue on to the next time it reached $11 within like the share price itself, the difference between like the last time it hit $11 to the next time it hit $11 was 102 days. And so what's even creepier is that when it did the same thing, like the next time it hit double zeros again, it was 102 days. And so there's like not only is the incorporation of the improbabilities of certain values being what they are, and I mean like certain then multiplied by like how the various different corresponding values are. Like when I say that, I mean like oh not only like I'm looking at like how was the probability of like November 9th and November 17th both having a high value of like $11.43 like cents or 42 like whatever, it's the same fucking thing. Or even like oh what's the probability of them like also having 11 and then also 11 again. And so there are that's within that self is like really improbable. But then you like continuing on, it's like okay what's the probability that the difference the days, then we add then we just add another basically variable and probability to multiply it even further. That oh man I wonder if like oh my camera is like all out of focus. It's okay. And so basically what is that gonna work? No. Whatever. And so like we can also incorporate like how it's also the like the not only just the value type side, but if we also add into like the network days or like the dates as well. And so we have adding an additional variable to all this to make it even more fucky. And so like now we have this like dual like we like there's just so much like it just would not happen. It just like would not fucking happen. And so like that's what I mean by when I say like I use probability in order to identify essentially or be able to like with a high confidence know when something changes or something occurs in a way because just like that would never happen in like an emotional environment. Like that would just not happen because the probability that it happening in an emotional environment is really fucking small. However, if this were to be like a highly controlled systemic process, this would happen all the fucking time. And so because this is happening all the fucking time, this would indicate that this is a highly systemic process or a highly controlled process. Because it happens, and because it happens frequently and it happens like so concisely, and these values are so repeated, it mean like it is highly controlled, and that like any external variable would have little to no like influence within the entire the system itself. And so so I guess that is a fun little introduction to like how using like why I know that TA is useless into this GameStop stuff. And I've been saying that for a really fucking long time. Anyways, I've been saying a lot of things too for a fuck ton long time, but it's okay. But like at least people like know anyways, finally. But I mean, so yeah, and so I mean, so that is the easiest give to know that something is fucking up. Like it's the easiest give to like something does not the fucking like this would not fucking happen given like these gazillion data points, and using the gazillion data points we can get a vague idea of what's going on, but because like basically we are observing these data points that are like way fucking out there, just like oh my god something fucking shit is going on. Anyways, and so I mean like so we have the basically so I went over like the probabilities of the values themselves and the probabilities of the durations and the dates and overall more or less. I mean there's a lot more to it, and because I don't even know how to like very concisely describe all of this, because yeah it's just I don't know, it's a lot I guess. And so I guess, and so to add in like a third variable that seems fucky, so I discussed the values themselves, discussed the time duration. We can like another variable that can be added that adds to the more allows for further confidence that is more fuckeries going on is by looking at volume. But as a caveat, I should also reiterate how since volume is like kind of the volume within stocks is a misnomer, in the sense that a lot of people, for example, when I first thought volume, I purely just thought it was the amount of people that just like, it was just like, oh, there's like this many people that bought like right then. No, that's not the case. So volume actually is, it's like kind of like a tricky, it's not like, to better explain what volume is within stocks is that it is the volume of trades. And so it is the total number of times anything was bought, sold, or like some option type things. So it's like, it is the overall summation of like multiple different variables within itself. And so when people look at the buy sell ratio, I mean that kind of would help figure out what the volume is, but we don't know what the actual the overall like percentage or like what ratios there are like that that actually determine what the overall volume is. And so like not only is like that like because like oh yeah well people use volume all the time, like yes, but volume also consists of 3 different variables. So like using the word volume is more so just basically the categorical name of like the group, and it's not necessarily the name of the variable itself. I hope that makes sense. But anyways, then so another reason as to why using volume, or why I don't use volume on a very discrete level, is that the existence of dark pools, or whatever the fuck you want to say. And so so while the volume that we're seeing in the lit pool, I mean like it's like consisting of 3 different or consisting of more than just buys. It's like the buy sells and all that shit. But then we also have the volume on the dark pools, and we don't have that data. And so therefore when a lot of people tend to use volume forever type of bullshit that they're for example, that guy's like, oh, I can't hear you volume, guys. Like, okay, that doesn't really mean anything. I mean, it's good for height, and I'm cool with that. But in regards to actually meaning anything, it doesn't mean anything, because it's another variable that is highly manipulated and that we can't trust. Because yeah, that just anyways went behind that. And so when so when I say like, oh, I know this data has been highly manipulated for at least 2002, is because this shit right here. And so so looking at the volume, like on a overall just a categorical type like viewpoint, essentially it's like, oh, well, you know, for a lot of, so we hold on. And so this chart right here represents the volume for all the years for 2002 to 2003, and so all the volumes that ever happened. And so we like can see how like the median volume for this the median volume for this duration of time was about like, I don't know, 536. And so which is kind of like iffy, because like, I mean, because like in the beginning of 2002 the volume was pretty small, and so that's why I kind of potentially could have swayed the data. But the reason as to why I am using the median to basically describe the data set that we're viewing right now versus the average is because the average would, in this type of distribution here, because it's not symmetrical, basically the median would be right here-ish, because it's like the most common, like the median's like it's probably going to be actually right around here if I were to guess. Yeah, like right there. Like, yeah, it's right here. But see how the mean is about like it would be pulled higher than that. And so the mean is like 700, like 250 more than that. And so this type, it's called a right tail. I keep on getting right tail versus left tail. I don't know why. And so this is a skewed data set, and that is not, this type of data, it is not a bell curve or like it has a normal distribution. And so because it's not using it doesn't have a bell curve shape, because there exists a limit at 0, because we can't go past 0, a volume, like basically. But because of that, the more appropriate statistical characteristic to use to help like basically define what this is the median. And so actually this brings me to where I kind of back to why I hate fucking TA, is that like, so a lot of time people use the average for things within TA, but but you can only really use the average for things that are symmetrical. And so because the majority of shit in stocks is not symmetrical, you have to use more like, it's better to use basically the medians and quartiles. But I guess just to like, since I'm keep on going on various different like non sequiturs, I just like that word, so I want to use it. So basically going into like using, when I stated how I can just kind of tell that 2002, 2003 was kind of really fucky, is that, so if we're using, if the median volume for those 2 years was like 536, like 5,400,000, whatever, just round, like whatever. And so if that's the median, and we can see how like basically we can look at the quartiles of like, okay, well, like 90% of the data was less than 1.4 million, 90%. And so the thing is like, okay, if 90% of the data is less than 1.4 million, like what the fuck is going on with these guys? Like that is fucking absurd. Like that, how not only by the by like how many there are. I mean, actually that's dependent. Oh, let me retract that. Give me a second. And this is absurd because basically, okay, if 90% of the data is with 1.4, and then we can see how basically 10% of the data is within 200. So like, yeah, there's between like, so basically, so 90 to 80, like 90% to 10%. So 80% of the data is between 1.4 million more or less and like 200,000. So like there's a range, like there's a delta of that. It's like 1.2 million. All right, it's like 80% of the data had a delta of 1.2 million. And so when we see values that are like, okay, well, this fucking shit had like 3 million change, this fucking shit had 9.7, and this fucking shit had 19, that would mean like a lot of fucking shit's going on, because it's so extremely, it's so extremely separated, or like different, or like it's like, so if yeah, there's all this data is going here, but then we have like this guy and that guy and that guy, and it's like, this is like, how many points is that? That's 475 data points. Like 475 of them are right here, and so but then we have these points right here, and so that would just kind of like being like something's fucky going on, because like these values, like I would be like, okay, you know, like if there was one guy that was like 3 million, you know, it's like, okay, yeah, I'll give that to you, because it's like one guy and it's like only like doubled and whatever. It's like, okay, yeah, you know, if you squint, yeah, sure, there's a probability of that occurring. But because there's like, oh, the 3 million, and then the 5 million, and then the 9.7 million, and then the 1920 million, like that is a fuck no. Like no, because like there are multiple, there are like there are the max value is way too like different between like the median and the 90% value. So it means that it would just kind of suggest like fucking shit was going on there. And so like so that's how I know, like, oh, like something fucky was going on that time period. And so like that's, I mean, so using how like, okay, well, you know, shit went down in 2002, like I mean, like, okay, let's go backtrack and figure out shit more down in 2002. But I guess like that's going to open a whole kind of worms into like the various different weird things that I've been able to figure out that have happened in 2002. And I think I like, don't need to go down that too many. And I think that like a good hour and a half stream is good enough to figure out, to prove that, hey, this shit actually works, I think. Anyways, I think that's enough for me. I hope you guys have a lovely day. Yeah, stats rules, TA sucks balls.